G'day, legends. Thanks for jumping on our YouTube channel, watching, well, another fantastic episode. I'm sure it will be because we haven't done it yet.
I reckon.
Yeah.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
Has to be.
For episode.
We've rehearsed it, at least.
What do you call rehearsal? Anyway, we just wanted to say that we're coming to Adelaide in a couple of weeks' time on the 25th, Saturday the 25th of February. We'll be at the Highway Hotel, an afternoon show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
2:10 p.m. start.
Yes.
Light footy starts on Saturday afternoon. That's when it's all happening. We'll be there with our mates from the Keeper League, so looking forward to hanging out with them. But looking forward to hanging out with you. So grab your tickets at thehighway.com.au. Details on dreamteamtalk.com and all that sort of stuff as well. But get around it, get amongst it, because it's going to be a bloody fun afternoon.
This is
you to be there.
These are the shows you want to come to.
It's really important.
It is. It's pre-season.
You need to pick good starting squads, and this is how we're going to do it.
And that's the thing. If people are coming along to Adelaide, no shit, we'll show you our proper teams.
Will?
Yeah. We won't.
I will. I always do.
All right, let's get into this then.
Welcome to the official AFL Fantasy Podcast with the Traders.
G'day with the Traders. I'm Roy. I coach Destroy, and I'm here with Warnie.
Coach of the One Dogs.
And Gavin.
Coach of Calvinator.
We have a massive, massive episode today because we are going to be focusing on the midfielders.
Yep.
Now, enough cannot be said about how important it is that we nail this line.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be done, dog. You threw a stat around earlier. How many midfielders? I think it was 18. Averaged a ton.
And that's down from previous years.
Yeah.
It towers over the other positions.
One forward, 2 rucks, 3 defenders.
So our
and they're
cash
only
cows,
just over there, most of them as well.
Our cash cows, our mid prices, and our Uber premiums. It just feels like this line we just need to nail.
Yep.
Correct?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
I think we have the info today to make sure that gets done.
We do. And the more we talk about it, we use the term throw a blanket over them.
Yes.
We can't keep doing this.
No.
We can't just keep putting blankets over them.
Yeah, but I think what the good thing about that is that I think it might be where people have some unique sides, like
That's true.
the amount of players that are there. Like it's the one that you picked that might be even that couple of points better.
Yes.
Could just be that edge that you have while they're chasing them and all that. It's going to be interesting. But then structure of it's different as well.
Exactly.
We're all structured differently in the midfield.
Yeah, like I don't like my current structure really. It's very weak compared to what I traditionally go with.
But it's what you're
Having
playing with
said
at the
that, I
moment.
never go well, so maybe that is a good change. I don't know.
All right, let's get into some of these.
Here's the news of the week you need to know on the official AFL Fantasy Podcast.
Now, as a night follows day, Roy, we did our Defender podcast last week. You're hot on a bit of Zachary Williams action as someone that could be some value.
Sleeper.
Or certainly in draft.
Yep.
You are hot on. So we've had a couple of edits of our draft kit coming up because of that. But also, for a record, went to print the day before. Poor old Zac Williams did his ACL, so he'll be out for 12 months. So that changes things for the Blues a bit.
It does. It's massive. So, look, it's funny that... Look, do I have to talk about Carlton? Oh, okay, I'll talk about Carlton. But, so it's funny how Sam Walsh being out had such a flow-on effect into defence because the word was Doherty was going to continue that role through the midfield that he'd been sort of pinch hitting. The news was also really good for Zach because then he comes up a line onto Doherty's attacking half-back role, which we've seen him dominate with, 90-plus averages in the past, and it felt like he was ready to go bang in that role again. Well, it was his knee that went bang and he's done. It's devastating. Obviously, now there's more. Crisis creates opportunity back there for someone else. But yes, dog, it's devastating news for Z-Will, for Carlton supporters, for... savvy drafters that we're going to pick him up nice and late. But it is what it is, 12 months away, and I get to talk about Z-Will, again.
All right, there's a few,
What will he be priced at?
Yeah, don't.
Oh, don't you?
Don't.
You're disgusting.
Yeah.
That was Warnie's voice.
I've seen on
mimicked
Twitter,
my voice.
there's a few people tagging on these dog areas.
Hashtag sicko.
Isn't it?
Yes.
I haven't done any calculations, but 48 would be a very cheap place to have.
Goodness, mate.
Yeah.
He did it.
All right. Other
didn't
news
have
that we've
to do
seen
it.
during the week as well was that the Lions had a bit of a scratch match the other day, and Will Ashcroft dominant.
Goodness me.
So we'll be picking him.
Keep
Plenty of touches, kicked a goal, so that's good. Now,
Number one.
Oh, yeah, I do have number one pick in Keeper League.
You do.
Dunkley and Neil. Yes, you do, Calvinator.
That's a tough one.
All right. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Now, Dunkley O'Neill. Now, Dunks had the first clearance.
Oh, he
like,
did.
Everything's just adding up. It's going to be right.
He'll win the Brownlow. Heard it first here.
Well,
He could. Do you know, I put a cheeky...
Oh, you did you?
67. Yeah. Right, okay, so playing on here, another bit of news out of today, actually, and you can always be hitting up afl.com.au for all the news that you need, and we'll be always retweeting stuff through the Twitter account and posting anything that is needed to know along the way. But Christian Salem cow gets another edit, or you're not editing though, are you?
no, I'll tidy him up.
He's got a bit of a thyroid issue.
So when I first read that, I thought it was a hemorrhoid. Okay.
Oh, that's easy fix.
And I was
I thought
going to
it was a
ask...
thigh to start with.
Yes.
Going to ask you what he needs to do.
Anusol. That's the cream. A-N-U-S-O-L. Go and get it.
Can I have some anusol for...
Yeah, God, look, hot tip. A lot of people have heard this story before, but make sure you get the pronunciation right. It's not anusol just because that's where the problem is.
So this is
It's a massive trick.
from the Demons website about it. So he's on a modified training program due to a thyroid concern. The defender has battled a similar problem in the past, which impacts his body's heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, and weight.
Much like a hemorrhoid.
Very, very similar.
I might have to go and check my thyroid here because about all that's happening at the minute. It's warm in here as well. I'm sweating it up.
Yeah, it is hot.
So anyway, that's a watch.
Yeah.
But he may not be that lock that we all thought.
Well, I was actually going a little bit cold on him anyway.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I was.
You've been hot on him.
Yeah.
You've been the cheerleader.
I have. Hey, I had to
You
write
got
about
him into my team.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But I also now... We always looked at our line there and we saw Yo and even Salem sitting together, and then some had maybe two rookies or one rookie. We're like, geez, that doesn't look very strong. Now that needs to be fixed.
I saw him as strong. You had convinced me that is just a solid 90 guy.
Yeah.
I was very bullish on that. Actually, that's another AFL record. He's in the team.
Oh.
This is too much. This is too much of a pre-season interruption this close to season starting, I think, for...
You can't, and the thing is with him, you can't go down to anybody because you're making it even weaker.
No, it's a restructure.
Yeah, you must go up.
Unless you didn't have Elliot Yo.
Exactly.
There you go.
Which surely most
But you would have been choosing, most people would have chosen Yo over Salem. But it's changing structure, and that's going to be the tricky
structure
thing.
changer.
Yeah.
We might have to follow you a little bit more with that, destroy what we do. So as I said, check out afl.com.au for all of the pre-season news, all of the others. As Selby tweeted actually earlier today, something about there's not as many track burners as there are injuries at the moment. That seems to be more of the thing that's happening. So we'll try to bring some more, but stick around later on. We'll be chatting to Josh Gabelich from afl.com.au, who has much more news than that. And some good news, hopefully.
Gab will have good news.
It's all right.
Right. We are turning our eyes to the midfield, the engine room. This is what we love. We've got our bulk points here. Structures are going to be different along the way, I think. So that's something that we need to, well, obviously work out this preseason, how we're going to line up. And it all goes hand in hand with what you're doing elsewhere. A few people might have changed some backline structures recently, so that might change your midfield. But no better way to start looking at the midfielders than this very accurate piece of information. Accuracy is your middle name, Destroy. You get it right, don't you?
I do, every time, nearly. Now, the Rollin 22.
50% of the time he gets it right every time.
Right.
100%. Okay, now, this is massive because, Dog, you mentioned earlier throwing the blanket over. This is as good as a Rollin 22 top 8 has looked for a long time. The names and the faith I have in these guys that are, pardon the pun, but rolling through here.
Well, they've all got the ability to be 115 plus.
You could actually argue almost with every one of these guys that there's upside, even though they're your top dudes. Okay? So I'll start with number one. Clear number one, Rory Laird.
Yes.
Now, his price also suggests that, yes, he is well and truly number one.
Over $1 million.
Now, the upside argument with him is he averaged 129 for that extended period that you
Calvin
talked
will
about.
upside about Lairdy.
There's
100%.
upside.
And then that would put him nearly 20 points better than the next guy.
Yeah.
Come putting a C on that, that's a handy extra 20 points.
Oh, yeah.
So, there is that argument. But he's number one. Whether you're willing to pay up or not, you'd have to see structure-wise. Number two.
Right,
and there was
this is where I'm interested.
Well,
this is the blanket that we talk about.
There was a late change because I hadn't pumped in the haircut.
Yes,
into the criteria.
I know what you're saying.
Jack Steele shaved his hair.
He looks down to business.
100%. Got him up to number two.
Because of the haircut?
He was only just behind, and that was enough to get him over the line.
Right.
Yeah, so we've got Jack Steele at number two. I feel like he is just automatically 10 points underpriced. If you look at what he did the year before, it was only that injury that derailed his season where he continued to play through it, even though it was serious that game. Then he's come back not basically being able to use his tackling wing, which is significant for him, and then he finished really well again. So Jack Steele's up to number two. Brayshaw is at number three.
Right.
Now, this one, it scares me, okay? It scares me because if I was going to play the Dockers, I would put someone on him.
Too right you would.
Now, his ability to break a tag is also undeniable. They struggle to run with him, okay? But, anytime there's someone next to you the whole time, it's going to affect you slightly. I'm still bullish enough to have him at number three. That kid is on the rise. He just keeps getting better and better and better. So he deserves to hold his number three spot. I then just go to a safety one so I can exhale. Just go on Clayton Oliver. He would just get it done.
That's what the calculator does.
Yeah, it does. The calculator goes, your heart rate's increased. You've either got thyroid or hemorrhoid. Just put Clayton Oliver there and you'll get back to normality. So he's there. He's going to finish with a 110 average. So that's safe for a number four.
And plays every game.
He plays every game.
Yeah. See, I've got him in my draft rankings at 2.
That's
just for that safety.
You bump him up. That's a very safe pick. Then I'm going, because I continue to be bullish on him, so I have to back it up. Tom Mitchell.
Oh, so you've gone safe and now you've got a guy that you are predicting. So on these calculations, that's probably putting close to 20 points on.
Yeah, and I'm confident in it too.
So definitely 15 plus. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
good.
So
the, what the naysayers will be rightfully questioning, Collingwood's system won't allow that anymore.
Yep.
You put a pig near the ball, pig is going to get ball. He's going to be starting near the ball. He'll be getting the ball.
He's a fit pig.
He's a fit pig.
I've never seen him look like this.
No. He's out to prove a point. So don't be surprised if he actually goes up there a little bit. Then I've got, speaking of looking fit, oh, God.
I know.
I had to argue with the criteria not to put him at number one because Duke Miller...
And the picks just keep coming.
They
had a bit of a camp the other day and I wouldn't walk around with a shirt on either during those times, but holy hat.
God. Yep. If they bring back the men for all seasons calendar, he's got to take 6 or 7 months. It's ridiculous what he's looking like. After that is Callum Mills. Now, this is disrespectful because Callum Mills regularly pumped out 150s and 160s last year. Huge things. But what do you think scares me and the criteria about Mills?
Fullback.
Yeah.
It's his role.
Yeah.
And it's also, you cannot make him captain.
No.
So if you're getting one of these guys
good scores, though.
He does.
But
he has bad
it's
scores.
up, down, up, down, up, down. It's a 160, then it's an 80.
And the 80s are his random ones.
Yeah.
Even his 80s where he doesn't get that fullback role or a defensive role. It's like, where the hell did that 80 come from?
Yep.
The cherry on top was the grand final. I know grand final's a completely different game, but don't go out there and have 13 touches.
No.
Yeah. Not good.
Okay, so that's got him down there anyway. Then I'm rounding it out. God, these names.
They're big names.
Are unbelievable. Rounding it out with Jack Macrae, who I think is 10 to 11 points under what he's going to average.
Okay.
I think he'll be back up to that 115, where he became basically, that was his thing. 115. I think he did it 3 years in a row.
Yep.
And now he's down at 104. There's no
Dunkley.
Dunkley was taking 51% of CBAs. That's when Macrae was out sulking with his head tilt on the wing or on a flank. He can score in those positions, but he is better when he is right there in the middle and you get the odd extra tackle and things like that.
Right.
So that's it.
The thing is with Macrae, I remember we had him last year and the amount of times we just were watching the game together or whatever, we just said we cannot do this to ourselves again.
So am I too old school in this because I've just walked in this year going, I'm not going to keep getting the same dudes I always do, end up the same way that I always do. But then I looked at Macrae and I'm like, damn, that real bad patch he had in the back end of the season, that's where he was pushed out and tilting and sulking and things like that.
Head was erect in a team photo the other day.
Yeah, that's good sourcing by people out there too. They
He was standing next to Bevo. That's got to be positive.
That's good.
However, they're standing on the side. Someone did point out that he was on the wing of the photo.
Oh, no. God.
But the fact that he was standing next to Bevo, I think that's a positive.
That's a positive. And standing quite upright.
Head looked like it was no more than 3 degrees.
Oh, that's
all
right.
It's a bit of brown nosing never hurt anybody.
100%. All right, so that leaves some pretty big apologies, apart from
a lot.
Whoever I've forgotten that you'll remind me later when you listen to this. That leaves Merritt, who I think is in for another,
he's gonna be big.
Like a sensational year.
Yep, agree.
I'm very confident with him. Bailey Smith.
Yeah.
Now, don't sleep on this guy. Remember how he started the year? He's going to be massive, I reckon, this year and could force his way into that within 2 weeks. Lachie Neale, he just keeps getting it done. Lachie Neale.
Yeah.
Cripper at the front end of the season and the back end of the season did some nuts stuff, and he's not even a consideration at the moment.
Yeah.
But he's someone who also deserves an apology. There's actually a few other guys that you could throw under this third blanket.
Yep.
But they're probably the really big apologies.
Okay, out of those guys there, let's go the top 8.
Okay.
How many can you start in your team?
Well, as we talked about, there is that argument about value.
Yes.
I think a few of them you could start.
Well,
you could have 3 of those guys to start with.
Okay, who is the 3? I'll start and then you guys tell me yours. So the 3 biggest value picks, if you're going to start with 3 of them, I reckon if you start with Laird, you could probably only start with 2 of them.
Yeah.
If you're going to start with 3 of them, I think you can squeeze Mitchell, big value.
Yep.
Macrae,
I think they're the 2.
definite value.
I'll nearly say Mitchell's a non-negotiable for me at the moment, and Macrae has not left my side either at that time. So
then, even though it's still super expensive, I think the next most valuable guy that I could justify there is Jack Steele.
Yep, M1.
Well, there you go.
The Dogs.
Yeah, I like it.
So I go Steele, Macrae, Mitchell.
Yeah, that's good.
That is old school as well.
Isn't it ever? That's us to a T.
Yeah.
But no, those names.
Yeah,
See,
I think I would like to be Mitchell, Steele, Touk.
Oh,
See, Touk. Yep. So if you could only get one between Touk and Steele, because they're both about the same.
And they've both got shaved heads.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Touk's more ripped.
Yeah.
I
I think I'm Touk at the moment.
Ah, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like Touk's season wasn't... Touk averaged 110. Oh, he did have his injury issues as well.
Mate, remember though that little patch he had where he didn't lay a tackle?
Yeah, that's right.
That midfield's different.
Those two have...
I think I like the Saints midfield, and I think I'm backing Ross.
Those two have mirrored each other the last 2 years. Like they both went that massive 120, then they've both dropped to that 110.
Yep.
And it's probably equally justifiable as to why. That might be 4 blankets. You could chuck one over there.
There's a lot of blankets
they can
going
share.
on. It's like a bloody laundry in there.
Well, let's have a look at what the punters are doing at the moment. So of the tens of thousands of coaches that have already signed up to AFL Fantasy for 2023, Will Ashcroft, the most selected player, that's a no-brainer, with 61% of ownership. Everyone's got him, obviously.
Well, not everyone's got him, dog.
Yeah, maybe they're not completed.
39% don't.
But where does he sit in your team? That's the big question. I've got him at M6.
That's where he needs to be.
Yeah.
At the moment, I've got him at M5.
I know.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I know. My other lines
Your
do look so
midfield is
good.
incredible.
But I feel like I was really basing that around rookies that I had the most faith in.
Yeah.
I don't think I can start the season quite that thin in the midfield. Or do I overthink the fact that it's a midfield? It's just another line. My whole forward line is midfielders.
Yeah.
So does it really matter?
No. I'm with you, Roy. That's where we pay up for these rookies, I reckon, and that's where we can be thin. At the midfield, can basically be guns and rookies.
Well, that's it, and that's what people are doing. So I'll skip ahead without going to look at all the guys in order. But the other midfielders, you've got Will Phillips there.
Yeah.
I think he's in most teams as well. 270k.
Bargain.
He's ticking every box this pre-season.
Yeah.
There's quite a few with dual position. I know, Roy, you've got a dual position
I do,
guy in
yes,
your
controversial.
midfield. But you've got Matthew Johnson, who could be a chance there for Freo.
Jono.
George Wardlaw's a chance for North Melbourne as well.
Yeah.
The other one that I will throw up there is Cam McKenzie.
Yes, I like.
If you had a look at the Hawthorn Instagram account, now that you're on Instagram, Cal,
I haven't logged back into it, to be honest.
This is a good one. You've got to log in and look at this one.
They basically looked at, well, I'm going to call them cash cows, but they looked at their rookies and had some quotes about them, and so he looks pretty good along
bullish,
the way there.
Rather bullish cow, they were on it.
See, Elijah Hewitt for West Coast.
He plays.
He's ticking some boxes along the way. So, I don't know. We're going to see a few there, and that's where your strategy, Roy, of going with quite a few of those could be, could come out all right. And you could go with the DPPs as well because of your forward line, the way that you're setting up with that.
Yes. Do you know what probably realistically will happen would be that if I'm going to have the whole top line and then the whole bottom line rookies, it needs to be a bit stronger. What it would need to have is Taranto back in the forward line for me and Steele in that midfield spot.
Okay.
If I've got three guys I've got a little bit more faith in, that's how that would have to happen.
Okay.
All right, playing on then. The most popular premium, and we'll call him a premium because you've got him in the rolling 22 up nice and high, is Tom Mitchell. So people are on board there. 33% of teams for Tommy Piggy Mitchell.
Won't let you down. I am very confident with that.
Then the next one, some more value. James Worpel.
The Warpedo.
Where are we?
I've gone cold.
I'm freezing. I'm freezing on
cold.
it, yeah.
There's not enough excuses how you could drop that far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, Roy.
I know he had niggles, but he played.
But he's also in a team that's not going to have the ball.
Yeah.
They're going to get thumped.
But does he have so much responsibility that, no, he can't average over 80 in that team?
How many touches is he going to get a game? What, 15, 20 touches?
Yeah.
That's all he's getting.
Priced so cheap.
I understand that. But
Doesn't
he
actually
is,
need to
I tell you
score.
what, he's a definite, I'm not staying with him.
So what are we saying, though? We're saying he's not going to be that good. He'll average about 80?
No.
Are we saying that?
No.
75?
If he's lucky.
Well,
Still a big
which is
increase.
enough at 463,
I know,
which has
that's
got him
the
priced
thing.
at that 52.
So if it fits your structure, you can still tick it.
He's going to have games of 50s.
He's averaged 90 for a whole season before.
Yeah, that was back in World War One.
And his second year Blues, that was.
No, it's been a long time, Blue.
And it was without Tom Mitchell one of those years.
It's just
Now he doesn't have Tom.
You know what? It's one of those ones where you don't have to start with it, and you're not going to miss a lot by jumping on.
So if you're wrong,
get on. You can just go swallow your pride.
If you're wrong, get on.
That's it.
Did that rhyme?
So the next one is Dom Sheed. You're paying 130 odd K more for him. Are people sleeping there on him? Like, is he a must-have in our minds a little bit?
He has not left my team, and as long as he keeps ticking his legs over at training, I'm marking him down as a 90 average, and he stays in my team.
And that's probably the thing that we haven't seen as much in the last, the last couple of years. We've had these guys where they might have taken it more than that average. Like, is it enough? Like, that's the thing.
I think it's enough.
I think it's enough.
I think it's
Price
enough.
at 67 to get to a 90 is good, but he probably doesn't stay on our side as long as some of those other guys that we might have been picking. Not so much at this price because he is down at a 67, but you're going, you just think that they could actually be a bit more of a keeper.
He's the perfect guy to upgrade around that buy time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can have him. That's fine.
Yes.
Playing on through these guys here, Took Miller's there in 24% of sides. Then you've got Jack Macrae at 19%, Brayshaw 17%, Oliver 16%, Steele 15%, Rory Laird's in 14% of teams. So what you're saying about those rolling 22, there's a lot of those guys in there.
Right,
People are making their choices between them, and that's why we are going to see a bit of a mix-up with our sides because of those. People are going to be picking one guy over another because obviously you can't.
The
be like
popularity is
Pokemon and
amazing
collect them all.
because you're literally throwing a blanket over them in the popularity section as well.
Within
like
a few
1%,
percent.
Yeah.
Yep. Then the next one, this is where probably the first guy where we're predicting a breakout, the opportunity there, and that is Tom Green.
Yeah.
So a lot of us like Tom Green for a lot of reasons there. 752K, started the year in tremendous form last year.
Yep.
So beast scores, and we did enjoy what he did. So he's at 85, that break even of 85 there, and can he go to 100? And then is that enough?
Yes, 100 is well and truly enough.
Will he get to 100?
I think he will be very, very close to 100.
So that's obviously lost Taranto, lost Hopper out of that midfield.
Yep.
He's the number one picked in there?
I think so. He definitely gets the time.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a big improver.
Yep.
Yeah. At 85, I think he can get a ton.
I think he can be 100.
Yep.
I think you can give me 100. Yep. I think, he's going to be very close. So the ownership there, and this is something you can be checking out if you get the Fantasy Coach subscription. So get yourself through with that, click on Stats Center, and then you can change all your filters to go and check that out, because it's always a nice thing to do. Any other unique sort of players that we might consider in our midfield?
Yeah.
I'll throw some names.
Okay, because there's someone that's just... He won't leave my mind.
Yeah, I've got one that's in my mind too.
All right, so looking at some of these guys under 10%, I'm going to throw Bont at you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's go with Bont.
How can you go wrong?
We've got Macrae doing well.
Yeah.
Bont does well.
He does.
And he cannot be tagged. That's the other part about Bont. He just can't be stopped.
He's not going to have to do the forward stuff. Fingers crossed he's had this perfect preseason that we wanted to see, and then he will be right. He's another cheeky Brownlow.
Oh, 100%. Why do I always feel with Bont, though, he's just got a 105 average ceiling? Why do I feel like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
He did 108, didn't he, a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Or maybe that was for a patch.
No, it would have been.
But he showed some
Still
ceiling
it's
as well,
still
though,
under
in
that
games.
blanket that I'm talking about. But, yeah, no, he did. You're right. And that's where he opened my eyes. I was like, hey, Bont does have that.
But it's him, also Baslenka with Macrae. They're all around the same sort of price, realistically. We've just got more faith in Macrae.
Faith is in he's a bigger flea bag.
I don't know where the faith
It's a harsh way to put it, but it was as nice as I could put it. He's, out of those three, who's the least likely to get tagged?
Macrae.
100%.
So, yeah.
And that I like that. I like that aspect. But yes, Dog, it is a great pick. You are not going to ruin your season by picking Marcus Bontempelli in your starting midfield.
No, of course not.
Another look then at a unique player. Let's have a look there at... Oh, just give me a one-word answer. Zac Merritt.
Okay.
Oh, is that one word?
No.
Okay.
I'm well and truly
fine.
interested in Zac.
Yeah.
Because he's cheap compared to what
He's very cheap. And if Essendon are going to play this Fleabag ball that I've been hearing about...
There's been a few different things, though. Like, they've also said they want to play fast and be a front-half team.
Oh, you can't Fleabag and go fast.
No.
What are they thinking?
Oh, God.
Essendon. What a team
God, they want to
strategy.
do everything. Anyone would think they want to win a premiership.
Better Scott. He's got them cruising along.
If I end up with Merritt in my team, I have legit gone full-blown old school.
You are just good old predictable cow if that happens. That's why we have to draw the line at someone.
You do.
We can't go Zac. He's been in our team the last 10 years.
Yeah, you can't do it.
A couple more players from me of these unique type options here. Josh Kelly.
Yeah, I like it.
In the same sort of vein as talking about Green.
Yes.
We can get there and go, well, Josh Kelly at 101.5.
Josh Kelly, do you know he's only 27 or
He's
something?
110. He's a 110er.
He is. And he's done it before.
Yep.
I like him. Do you know who else I like? Sorry, just that you're on the Giants. Lachie Whitfield.
Not again.
No, I know. Good old predictable. But listen, hear me out. So their game style, from what I've read, and I have read some words, and I like basically the skill set of Whitfield and what they're looking to do. He could be massive this year. He's priced at like 91. He's lost his DPP, so he's lost any popularity because he has always had a defender or a forward status attached to him. He's in for what I reckon is a massive year. Now, durability, I always talk about Whitfield?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, but I just get drawn to him. I think he's going to be huge. I'll just say that. Okay, he's very cheap. None of us will pick him, but we'll think, gee, he's going well.
Right, Parrish.
No.
Chera.
Yeah.
88.
I think he's just gone slightly out of favour, but I think I think he's 12 points unders.
12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other unique players that we've got in our minds, Roy? Who have you been waiting to talk about?
I've got one at has been in my head.
He just won't leave my head. He's living there rent-free. Caleb Sarong.
Yeah. Schmooky got in your head last week.
Big time he did. I didn't want to think about him. I had just stopped after last year because I thought last year was his breakout and I was very bullish on it and he left me feeling cheated. Okay. This year, I think Monday gone, surely time on ground increases. I just think this is the year he takes his game to potentially knocking on the door Uber premium status. His ownership would be so low.
Yep.
That's the only thing that scares me. I like to start reasonably vanilla because we're not like a lot of people that listen. You can't just desert your team and leave them high and dry. You've got to stick with them for the year. Spending that much on someone who totally flops, it puts you really on the back foot.
Right. The guy that's in my
4%
head.
for Sarong.
On the flip side, he could get you off to a flyer.
Yeah. The guy that's in my head, and he's under 500K, but it's got a lot of Worpel about it.
Yeah.
I'm talking Jy Cully.
Are you? This is very interesting.
3%.
So, last year played...
490.
Yeah, last year played 4 games. Listen to these scores. 76, 87, 71.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, and he gave us 3
He
scores
gets injured. He gets injured and subbed out on a 36. Now,
I haven't spoken to him since that day either.
No.
What did I need from him? 37.
Oh, that's right.
I needed 37 from him.
He is therefore, he's priced at a 55.
That injury happened at the end of the third quarter, I might add.
Yeah, okay. All I'm saying is I've seen his name out there as going to be in the rotations for the Eagles. The Eagles are going to be better than last year.
I like the fact that he has a go too.
Yeah.
Like he has a crack
His
the whole
tackles.
time. He is so underpriced at that. I could never do that though.
In those 4 games, listen to his tackles. 11, 7, 2, that was the injured one, 10.
Jeez.
All I'm saying is keep an eye on him.
Gosh,
Under
he's
500.
a bargain, isn't he?
He is.
3%.
We'll be answering some of your midfielder questions coming up later in the show. We're continuing our track watching as we do this pre-season with our very special guest from afl.com.au today, Josh Gabelich. Welcome to the show.
Great to be with you guys. Good to chat again.
You've been track watching over these last few weeks and, well, actually, we might start with this. Congratulations on getting the 3 votes for the Fantasy Footy Journo of the Year
done.
for January. So,
off to a flying start.
yes, we are starting our, instead of just giving an award out, we're actually going to do votes. And so you've started us off, you've done the hard yards in January, and so you've got the 3 votes. How does it feel?
Can you just specify this? Break down the criteria, please, because I'm fascinated. I like it, but tell me more.
Just Fantasy Journo of the Year, pretty much getting there. The guy that is doing everything that we need them to do, track watching, giving all the little bits of information that we need. Roy, you're on the criteria.
Yeah. It's talking about the guys we actually want to know about and need to know about and to the depth that we need to know. And you offered all of those things through January. So you've set the bar extremely high. Well done. Keep it up. Make the others chase you down.
Yeah, love it.
I think I'm just the only one that's not that interested in cricket and happy to sort of be out and about in January.
Whatever works.
Exactly, mate.
Yep.
Yeah, no such thing as easy access to 3 votes.
No,
you earned it. Well done.
All right, well, let's get going on what you've been up to. And, let's start with today. You were down at Tigerland. What did you see out of that might get some of us fantasy coaches thinking? And the big names for us at the moment is Tim Taranto, Jacob Hopper. They're going to be in the guts, aren't they?
Well, I think they will. They haven't missed much, if any, of the pre-season so far. They're pretty wrapped with how those 2 have gone. If we think back to last year, I mean, pretty big years in terms of where they ended up in terms of their careers, but disappointing years on the field. Both had issues with their body, and they're in great condition. Obviously, Tim Taranto's an endurance beast, and he's been a standout from an endurance perspective at Punt Road across the summer. And Jacob Hopper, who had so many issues with his knee last year, has got his body right. So they're both, it's early February. We can't go too soon, as we saw with a Zac Williams injury late last week, but they couldn't have done much more across this part of the pre-season. So really impressed by those 2, like many inside Punt Road.
So I'm hearing rumours that Trent Cotchin has been spending a lot of time forward. What were your eyes telling you about that?
Well, he actually trained with the mids today, but I think he will spend a bit more time forward this year. Obviously, with Taranto and Hopper coming in, with Martin getting back to full fitness, I think Martin's going to play a bit more time forward from what I'm hearing out of Richmond. And then with Jack Graham, obviously, him remaining at the club, obviously he looked at a return to South Australia in the trade period and he remained at Richmond. I think with their midfield, we'll see Cochin play more forward. We'll see Martin play a lot more forward. So time will tell. But Cochin did train as a midfielder today, but the signs are right that he will spend more time forward this year.
So if you, from what you've seen, if you had to put a split on time spent in the middle and forward from Tim Taranto, what do you reckon you would estimate that to be?
I think Tim will be more of a permanent mid. I think that's his goal, especially with Dustin Martin. I would see Dustin Martin probably spending over 50% forward this year. At this stage, I mean, time will tell across these. They've got 2 practice matches between now and round 1, and hopefully we'll see Dustin Martin playing at least one of those to give us a better indication. But I think when you bring in Taranto and you bring in Hopper, you have the luxury of using Dustin Martin forward a bit more, but he's had a full pre-season on the track. He's one that's gone under the radar a little bit because of everything that happened last year, and when you bring in two stars from another club, it attracts all the attention. But Martin's had such a good pre-season that he could play through the midfield as well. So we'll just have to wait and see. But, yeah, they've got plenty of options forward of the ball as well. Now,
some people are fearing that Tigers traditionally haven't been an overly fantasy-friendly team, so they think that's a big line through Tim Taranto, despite what, his potential has shown in the past that he can do. So does it look like they will be playing a similar style as they have the last few years, do you think?
It's a little bit too early to tell, but it would be something to keep an eye on across those 2 games to get a sense from a fantasy perspective. But I just feel that everything that he's endured with his body across the last 12 months, the shape that he's in right now, he couldn't be in a much better position in early February to have a big year.
Yeah.
All right, now you went last week on the Bulldogs camp and had a bit of a look there, and probably the thing that looked for us as fantasy coaches, Tim English looks to be the number 1 ruck for fantasy this year. A little bit of an injury concern for him?
Only a minor one, only a really minor one. He'll be back in full training this week. I mean, he completed a really, really tough running session while I was there. He just came off in match sim the week earlier with a groin strain. When I had a scan, it was only really on the minor end. But in terms of Tim English, I mean, his summer he's been, if not the best at the Dogs, one of the very best. That they're thrilled with his pre-season. And obviously the ruck, when you're looking for internal competition, and Jordan Sweet's not going to push him for the number 1 spot, but he's had a really good battle with Jordan Sweet across the summer, and I think he's in great shape. He grew up a Port Adelaide supporter, even growing up in WA, and Brendan Lade was his favourite player. So Brendan Lade's come across from St Kilda during October, and they've formed a really good bond. Wow. Obviously, Brendan Lade was a star ruckman back in the day, so I think he's had a pretty good impact on Tim English early. I feel that Tim English is really laying the foundations to be in that All-Australian discussion this year in terms of the ruckman. I reckon he wasn't too far off it at points last year. Obviously, he missed 4 or 5 games in the end that really cost him in that sort of conversation, but they're wrapped with his summer. We'll just wait and see how he comes up this week in terms of his groin, but it was really on the minor end.
Does with Lobb coming in, does things change much for him from last year, or do you think he still is that predominantly number 1 ruck and resting forward as we've seen in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I don't think too much will change. I think we'll just see him shoulder more of the load around the ground when it goes inside 50. I expect Rory Lobb to take the ruck. I mean, they've got that luxury now with him, so I think we'll still see him ruck 75-80% of the game for the Dogs.
Now, we're looking at the midfielders there as well in Bonds, Macrae and Smith. With Dunkley going, is Macrae going to find more time in the middle or sooking out in the wing like he does?
Yeah, I think we'll see Macrae a bit more inside. I think we'll see Bailey Smith a little bit more inside. I mean, the interesting one with the Dogs is obviously they've got a big hole to fill with Josh Dunkley going to Brisbane. They've looked at Cody Waitman as an option through the match sim so far. Obviously, they're looking for some more speed in there. So Cody Waitman has had some time in there. Caleb Daniel is another one that Luke Beveridge has looked at to play a bit more midfield. I'd expect him to play more midfield this year than in the past. I mean, they're pretty stacked in terms of their creative running defenders with Bailey Dale and Ed Richards. They've got plenty of options down back. Taylor Dray's another one who's had a pretty good pre-season. So I'd be looking at Caleb Daniel to spend more time in the middle this year. Obviously, an All-Australian defender, so you really want to take him out of there. Time will tell. But their midfield is going to be a query. I mean, even on the outside with Lachie Hunter departing, they went and got Oscar Baker, and it raised a few eyebrows because he was delisted and didn't quite make it at Melbourne. Had a really good opportunity there across 5 years, and they needed a wingman. That's why they went and got Lachie Hunter. But Oscar Baker has had a really, really strong pre-season. I think he's in the frame. But if not a round one debut, someone that could come in and play quite a bit of football this year. They're looking for some more options on the outside. So Oscar Baker is one, but how they replace Josh Dunkley is going to be the big question mark, because they were so dirty to lose him, and it's just still lingering and still simmering. Round 3 can't come around soon enough. A Thursday night game at Marvel under the lid is going to be absolutely sensational. But how they replace him, it's going to be a combination of many things, and I think we'll see Caleb Daniel, Cody Waitman, Adam Treloar, if he can get his body right. I mean, he's been the injury concern at the Dogs across the pre-season, yet to do a main session, coming off ankle surgery in September. So he's the concern. Obviously, he spent a bit more time on the halfback flank last year, but if they can get him to come back and play in the middle, that'd be a big one. And if Treloar gets up and running, I think we'll see Jason Johannesson return to a halfback flank this year.
He was good back there.
Back in the day, though, Dog. It was a long time ago, Dog.
And now out at Hawthorn, obviously young, a lot's going on there. Our question is, James Worpel, he is splitting the fantasy community at the moment because he's so cheap after a very poor season last year. And we knew how good he was. Like, he averaged in the mid-90s for a couple of seasons a couple of years ago. So is he someone are you bullish on him at all, having a bounce-back season?
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on James Worpel. I mean, he's coming off a shoulder reconstruction and done a mountain of work across the pre-season. They're thrilled with just the way he's gone about it, his attitude. This is a contract year. It's a big year for him. And I spent a couple of days with the Hawks last week in Gippsland, and you got a real insight into their midfield. I mean, when you lose Jager O'Meara and you lose Tom Mitchell, Liam Shields departs, Tom Phillips, all this experience, geez, it's young. And Jy Newcomb's quickly become the main man on the inside. Obviously, Carl Amon comes in, but he plays on a wing. Their midfield is really difficult to get a read on right now in terms of who fits where, but James Worpel is definitely part of that. I mean, he couldn't have done much more to this point of the pre-season. He's still got to prove it in these 2 practice matches that are coming up later in February and early March, but he's in a really strong position to play a lot of football because they need some experience. That's what they don't have in there this year. So I think he's laid the foundations to have a bounce-back year. And I think if we think back to when he did his shoulder in July last year, he'd actually built up some form in the VFL after such a disappointing start to the year, and had a great start to the game against the Giants when he did his shoulder. So that was disappointing to end his season in that manner, but I think he couldn't have done much more since then in terms of his attitude and getting himself right. So I see him as someone having a bounce-back year, and they need him. I mean, Sam Mitchell needs James Worpel to sort of get anywhere near back to that 2019 best.
Yeah, he sure does. Now, what about Cam Mackenzie? Is he going to get a game early as well?
I think Cam Mackenzie will. I think the one at Hawthorn to keep an eye on heading into round 1 is Josh Weddle. Josh Weddle has really, I mean, we think back to November's draft, and that was Sydney's pick, and Hawthorn pinched it quite late. I mean, they did the trade. They traded up on night 1 of the draft to get Josh Weddle. Josh Weddle's pre-season has been amazing. They are raving about Josh Weddle just in terms of he looks like someone who's been in the system for 3 or 4 years. I mean, he's just really mature, big body, dominating the running. I watched him do a hill session last week and really push CJ, who's the speed endurance machine there. And running's not everything, but for an 18-year-old kid to come in and win all 4 of the 1K time trial after Christmas really blew them away. So he's one that could come in and play on the opposite wing to Carl Amon. You've got to think Harry Morrison has a hamstring at the moment, which sort of sets him back a little bit. I reckon Josh Weddle is right in the mix right now for a round 1 debut.
And really quickly there, last one on the Hawks is who takes the first centre bounce in the ruck? Is it Meek, is it Reeves, or even Lynch?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, the big question is, can they play 2? And I don't think they would have looked at 2 if Mitch Lewis was available in round 1. I think he probably misses maybe 3, maybe 4 weeks in the end. So how do they, which combination do they go with? I mean, Lloyd Meek has had a really impressive start to life at Hawthorn. I look forward to seeing how he goes in these practice matches. But Ned Reeves showed so much last year, and Max Lynch barely had a run with his body. But of the three, those that inside Hawthorn think that Max Lynch is probably the best option in attack. So it adds another layer with no Mitch Lewis, because they don't really have too many targets inside 50. I mean, Jacob Gazitsky is probably the one. Emerson Jekka, maybe. I'd say Fergus Green is another really good option if you're looking for a mature age player to come in and play a bit of football early this year. He's someone who's coming off 53 goals in the VFL last year, nearly won the Frosty Miller. I think he might play early. So he's had a strong start. So in terms of the ruck, though, I mean, I can see Lloyd Meek and Ned Reeves probably being paired together. I think Max Lynch is just a little bit behind those two, but it's going to be a talking point between now and round one at Hawthorn, I think.
All right, another ruck, but let's go to the Pies this time. We saw Darcy Cameron have a bit of a hammy. Pretty minor, though. Is that what it's looking like to you?
Yeah, really minor. I was down at the club last Friday, and he ran, and he ran pretty strongly. So for him to be running 2 days after the incident's a pretty good sign. They think it's really 2 weeks, probably at most. Maybe we might see him at some stage later in this week, but I think we'll see him in those practice matches, which is a big positive, because I think it just reminded us how light on they are for ruck depth. I mean, Mason Cox had such a good year last year, but he worked really well in tandem with Darcy Cameron when Brodie Grundy was out of the side. And they obviously didn't replace Brodie Grundy. So Darcy Cameron is pretty integral to Collingwood and their chances this year. If they don't get 15-plus games out of him, I think they're going to have some issues around the ball, because they've only really got Aiden Begg. I mean, they signed Oscar Steen today, who's had a pretty good pre-season, but he's only 19, obviously. Yep. So Darcy Cameron is really important. So they were definitely pretty relieved just to get those scan results, and they were only on the minor end last week.
So Cox will be playing each game as well with him, do you think? Or does McStay sort of change that a little bit with his inclusion into the squad?
I haven't seen McStay do too much ruck work so far across the pre-season. So I think they had so much success with Cameron and Cox as a pairing last year, and with the sub-rule just being tweaked a little bit, it wasn't quite what we thought it would be in terms of having all five available at any time on the bench, but it just gives them probably a little bit more flexibility with having two tall ruckmen as options. So I think we could see Mason Cox playing. I mean, I think he played 18 games in the end last year. He didn't look anywhere near it in the first half of the year, but when Grundy went out, he came in and came good late in the year. So time will tell, but I still think Cameron's the one, but I can see them playing both. I think Craig Macrae really liked what Cox brought, especially through that second half of the year when they got on that run.
Well, we are looking at our rucks next week on our fantasy podcast, but let's continue the theme a little bit now with St Kilda. Rowan Marshall.
Right.
Is he the number one ruck, and is there any competition for him in the sense of who's going to play with him that might actually take some ruck time away from him?
Oh, I think he's the clear number one ruckman at St Kilda, and Tom Campbell was the other one, but he's managed Achilles soreness across the whole summer. So there's a little bit of a watch on him and his availability, and I think Jack Hayes maybe would have been used as a backup ruckman if he was available early in the year, but he cracked that metatarsal.
They're dropping like flies.
Yeah, St Kilda's had an awful run from Max King to Jack Hayes to Matt Allison to Josh Eyre that they were trialling, who was looking pretty good as a potential option to come in and give them a little bit of security and depth, but he was released last week. But if you think back to last year, I mean, when Paddy Ryder did his calf and Rowan Marshall had those last 5 games on his own, they were some of the best games that he's played.
Oh, yeah.
So he needed the number one responsibility rather than chopping and changing from attack to in the ruck. I think he's going to really thrive as the number one ruckman. The question was, when Max King went down, how do they replace him in that first month? Yeah. Could it be longer? It might be longer than a month. We don't know yet. It's the ideal scenario is that he returns in time for gather rounds in round 5. But I'd be keeping Rowan Marshall there because he's proven that he could be in that top handful of ruckmen in the competition. So they're going to have to try some other things, but everything they've tried so far across the pre-season hasn't quite worked in terms of injuries so far. So we'll get a really good sense, I think, of the Saints and how they're going to set up early in the year across these practice matches later this month.
Jack Steele is someone who we've really focused on as being, possibly 10 points unders given his slight drop-off due to injury last year. Now, do you think he'll get a clear run at, similar role, similar access to points under Ross?
I think so. I mean, we think back to Jack Steele last year, and he's coming off 2 exceptional years, All-Australian twice, best and fairest winner twice, and then does his shoulder in that first half of the year and raced back. And I think he's just really carried it for a lot of the year, and a really difficult one to carry when you play that role. We still finished top 3 in the best and fairest, but just didn't have that impact. I think he's fresh now. I mean, I've watched him train a few times across the summer. He's one I want to see a bit more of because he's so important. We think about all the players that or the lack of A-grade talent that they've got there. He's certainly in that bracket. So I just think he'll be in a much better position than he was last year because of the injury that he carried.
Yeah, now, Warnie's sources have come through with the information that Jack Steele's, in fact, had a haircut. Can you confirm that?
Absolutely. This one has rocked me a little bit because as someone who has spent a fair bit of time down at St Kilda, and I know that their fans absolutely adore Jack Steele with a long mop.
Yeah.
For him to shave it all off has been a real issue for their marketing and their membership teams. I think they're fielding quite a few phone calls. That Moorabbin phone gets quite a workout. It's right in the foyer. So you've got to walk past it. So it's disappointing that Jack Steele has cut the hair because I thought it was one of the better mops in the comp.
Well, putting my fantasy hat on, though, I think if you've shaved your nut, you're serious about this season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agree?
No, I like it. It's a good point. No, I mean, if St Kilda are going to be any chance of playing finals this year, they need Jack Steele back to his best. And I think he's had a really strong pre-season, but I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes in these practice matches because he just took just wasn't quite at his best in that second half of the year coming off the shoulder.
Yep.
Beauty. Well, Gabbo, thanks so much for your time here on the AFL Fantasy Podcast. We've got a lot from that.
There's
I'm going to have to listen to that back again to make sure I've got all the information that I need going into this season. Are you going to start putting a fantasy team together for this year?
I've said to you before that it's not. If I open up a fantasy account, I'm going to waste so much of my life on fantasy, and it'll cloud my judgment when I watch games on the weekend. So I just can't do it to myself. But I'm happy to be the track watch person for you guys. That's not a problem.
That's a very important job for us, and congratulations on your three votes for January.
Good
leading
start
the way.
to February.
Yeah, good start to February as well.
Geez.
So you're the clubhouse leader. You might be holding up the trophy that has been won by some of the best over the years in the fantasy.
Hang on, so there is a trophy. There's a trophy.
Hell yeah, there's a trophy.
Yeah.
Who do you think this is?
We have Ryan Daniels won it last year.
Yep.
And the year before that was Mitch Cleary. So these are the guys that, they work hard. We want to see you camping out of airports during the season.
Yep.
We've got all of those things. I'll tell you the big one that could get you some good votes next year is if you can work out who the substitute will be. That'll be a game changer for the Fantasy Journo.
That'll get you a trophy on your mantelpiece.
Right, it would.
Okay. No, I'll keep that in mind. I mean, we usually find out sort of 60 minutes before the bounce, but that'll be a good one to find out prior, I imagine.
Definitely.
Yes. Yep.
Fantasy coach will love that. Well, thank you very much, Josh Gabelich. Appreciate your time and keep doing the hard yards for us this pre-season.
Pleasure, guys. Happy to chat soon.
Got a question for the traders? Tweet the boys at AFL Fantasy or head to facebook.com/AFL Fantasy Official.
And don't forget, you can also go to @AFL Fantasy on Instagram, where they're now, and put out a little question thing and have a lot of questions. Ridiculous amount, actually.
I know. People are on.
We'll try to get. I think, actually, during this pre-season, we might even have to have just a couple of Q&A specials.
Ooh, I like a Q&A special.
So do I. I learn a lot.
All right, Connor from Instagram wants to know, am I overthinking Jackson Macrae? Why wouldn't I pick him?
Exactly. I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't.
Bevo,
there's your reason.
Oh, yeah.
Actually.
the wing.
Yep, but
It just shouldn't happen. We say that every year. We find a reason it shouldn't happen. But no Dunkley, that's like 51% CBA straight out. And yes, we've heard about maybe, Caleb Daniel, Cody Waitman running through there and that, but that's just little bit of pinch-hitting stuff. Yeah.
That's pre-season.
If you play match sim, you need twice as many people running through there. All right? I think you're overthinking it. Let's just start with Jack. Let's all do it. And that lessens the risk.
You told me before that he's priced at 104.
Yes.
And that's under his career average.
That's enough.
There is a vacancy in the middle. It's
CBA's up for grabs.
You are overthinking it, mate, and I am also doing the same. We just need to do it.
Yeah.
Sam wants to know this one. Which two out of Tom Green, Chad Warner and Jy Newcombe. So there's a couple of other names that we could throw into that little bit of a breakout sort of mix there, Warner and Newcombe. Would you pick?
It's Tom Green for me.
Tom Green's number one. He wants two.
Oh.
Is it Warner or is it Newcombe?
It's Warner. He's in a better team.
Yeah.
He's in a
Things
better
could
team.
be different for Newcombe and the Hawks, couldn't it? Yeah.
Newcombe went at 88, which is awesome.
He's still going to tackle like a beast, but it's going to be hard to find cheap pill.
It's going to be hard. I'd be going with the guy in a better team.
Same. I'm doing the same.
Brian wants to know Ashcroft at M4. Thoughts?
Holy hat.
There's a lot of rookies there.
Are there though? Oh, well, there are. But
Look at Dom.
Could you do it?
Here he goes. He started again.
the rookie.
Look,
Could you do it? No, that's too thin.
It's just a bit too thin.
Geez, your other lines would be looking good.
I've got him at M5 and it's not sitting well.
No, I don't. I think M5 is as thin as you can go.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. She can go at 4.
Yes.
AFL Fantasy 23, best mid pods. This is a pretty good podcast.
It's a very solid, you'd have to say.
This would be one of the top pods going
Go
on.
back and rewind. We did talk about some point of difference players there. Yeah,
That's
good one.
good.
Yeah, not bad, dog. I thought he said he was fatiguing before. We have done a big pod.
He just gave me a bit
Lee Mighty Duck, how did you rate Will Setterfield?
When he was eating his palmy.
Yeah.
He had a palm
Ate it
at the
well.
pub the other day. He did.
He did.
Looked after his dog.
610.
I like him
610.
as an option in draft.
Okay, so...
He can go 90. Probably, how close is that enough?
Essendon.
You don't usually...
85.
Yeah, exactly.
He went at 88, wasn't it, for the last half a dozen games
Yeah.
when he was a midfielder for the Blues?
Yeah, really good. Like, I was a big fan of what he was
Averaged
doing.
well over 100 in the
VFL.
VFL too for the last 7
Like,
games.
his VFL numbers
I think I wrote
are
that
through
somewhere.
the roof. Yeah.
Price at 69. He's playing at Essendon. It's a no.
I just couldn't do it, but there's no way he is not making money
Too right.
based on that.
Too right.
He is a much better player. He's in an awful team.
Oh.
His responsibility is going to be through the roof. Yes, I wouldn't do it, but I can see why you're looking at him.
Yeah.
All right, James Worpel. There's a lot of questions, yes or no. Where do we sit right now on him?
I'm telling you now, it's a big fat no.
I've gone cold. And I haven't actually set eyes on the Warpedo.
No. Price at 52. You can't.
What are you going to have to see? When we see these scratch matches, when we see the match sim, when we see the pracky game?
He has the power to trick me in those games.
When we're watching him here live for the first game of the practice matches,
God, we've got our own eyes on it.
what are you going to see? What do you need to see? What's he hitting centre bounces for you to pick him?
He's got to be at 65% CBA.
Right.
And he's got to be getting his hands on it and laying some tackles. I need a lot.
No, I'm telling you now, you're not going to get anything. You know what?
If he's lighting it up out there.
I reckon he's the kind of player that Sam Mitchell watches and runs around. Oh, Warp, we're giving you a lot of faith in this game, mate. Nah, get him off. Sub.
Warp loved him. I mean, he loved Warp in the VFL.
Yep.
Like, I think he's...
Didn't like him much last year.
No, he didn't. That's the problem. What happened? Warpedo spiralled out of control. That's
He
what
played round 4. St Kilda.
Oh, don't talk about
5 touches. 10 points. He's got a 36 in there from
What
his first
quarter did he
round.
get subbed off?
In that one?
Yeah.
That 10 point.
No, that wasn't that
No, he
game.
didn't.
No, he was the whole game.
Correct. Thanks. I just wanted you to say it again.
He started the sub after that game in round 5. He then got subbed again. He was injured though in round
Shoulder
16.
reconstruction.
It's a no. Do not do it.
So cheap.
Calvin.
Yes.
Miller or Laird?
Miller or Laird? As far as a photo shoot? Or look, I'm still on Laird. I'm still Laird.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Laird because, I love my captains, Roy.
Well, you do. It makes your job a lot easier.
Yep.
And you can say your captain average is really good for the year because you just put it. As far as the rest of your team goes, it'll probably stink as a result.
Yeah, so Laird goes GWS, Richmond in the first couple of games. So they would be deemed as quite easy, even though the GWS one is away. Had 118
They
on
won't
them
tag
last year.
this year, will they?
Unless Lachie Ash does a little bit, but I don't think he will.
I just feel like Kingsley's not going to come in there in a tagging mindset.
I 100% agree.
And it's not like they don't, even though they've lost good midfielders, it's not like they don't have elite ones that you would say, I'll back you boys against them.
Yep, agree.
This one's good for you, Cow. How many captain options is ideal?
As many as you can bloody get, Roy.
But how many?
We've all got one in Dunkley. He's
do you
an
just need
automatic
one, or can you
captain option.
do you need multiple? Because that's where the issue will be. If you're taking that little bit of the value option, you may not have the confidence there.
I reckon you need at least 2 or 3.
Yep. So who would be the captain options in your team apart from Laird at the moment?
Dunkley, as you said. Macrae, depending on the matchup.
Because of the loophole,
Jack
we
Steele.
almost get a random option as well to chase a V, don't you?
And even Doherty in the back line, they're going to play a couple of early games. That's an easy vice captain to have a look at it.
LDU or Simpkin? You're choosing out of those two as a bit of a breakout, I suppose.
I like them both.
Yeah.
LDU, though, I think. I think he's got better numbers towards that back end of the thing. I reckon.
Simpkin are more of a tag.
Yeah.
Tajay.
He had a good photo shoot
pre-season
too. Didn't he? He did.
He does look good.
It's LDU. That's my pick.
Yeah, that's who I'd go to.
Now, question here, I like this one. Is Noah Anderson this year's Andy Brayshaw? Could he be?
Gosh, he's a good player.
Not in that team.
No.
And is that the issue?
I think so. Freo are a legit good team.
Yeah.
The Suns are still the Suns.
Yeah.
The Suns are going to struggle to make the 8 if they're going to be maybe knocking on the door. But
Man for all seasons, does it?
yeah, I know. That's true. I think he's a bit different. I like it, but I don't think so.
Okay.
Maddie from Lads on Twitter. If you guys have all created your teams, which, we've all got teams, what structure are you running with at the moment in terms of premium, mid-price or rookie on field? So Roy was the nuts one with 4 rookies on field. One's a mid-forward, but you've also got a mid-forward in the midfield. So
Yes, there is 2. So mine was dictated to a little bit by who I had confidence in playing in terms of rookies. But then I just kept finding value that I liked in the forward line more than the Warpedos in the midfield. And that's why that has occurred. So that's why you'll find, say, a Tim Taranto, or it could be Dunkley, whatever you want, what looks more visually appealing. But that's why I've got one of them in my midfield, because I just needed to squeeze the cheap guys in, the mid-prices, and I chose the forwards over the Warp.
I've gone those 3 mids that I said, Steele, Macrae, Mitchell. Then I've gone the Sheed and the Warpedo at the moment, but that's very much a moving piece
Where do you stop with that? Do you put them all in? Is it easier? Actually, no. I'm going to answer this now. It is not easy to get rid of the failing one.
Oh, yeah.
They hang around like a bad smell for weeks on end. And if you cop an injury, you can't get rid of them for the life of you. What if you miss one that's going well? Is it that hard to get them in?
I don't think
know.
so. No,
probably not.
They're a little bit easier to get because it's either a premium down, or it's a rookie.
And you probably get a 2 to 3 week look at it before it's really out of hand. Like, what would Warp have to do in the first 3 weeks to be out of hand and outpriced himself?
Exactly. It's not
going to happen. If he got 300s, he'd still be cheap.
Yep. I agree. I'm 100% with you.
So maybe we start by not looking, start without them and look to get them if we're wrong.
Especially players like him. Miller is another one that fits that little bracket.
Yeah.
They can be a disaster.
They can.
Yep. But if they're going well, hey, it's not going to cost you much to fix it up.
All right, Tuke or Steele?
Steele
for me as well.
God,
it's not by much though, is it?
I know.
Rightio. We've had a couple of those questions. Cripps or Neil?
Oh, that's another hard one.
Neil.
Neither for me though. They haven't been in my calculations this year.
Gosh.
But I'd probably go Neil.
I think I'm Neil.
From a fantasy perspective, Neil. Just.
You had to say from a fantasy perspective.
Just.
Well, Sheed or Worpel. There is the price difference.
I'm going
Sheed.
Sheed.
You just got to do it.
You have to.
Yeah. Sheed has never actually, talking in the last few years, he hasn't actually missed a beat. He's a 90 guy.
Yep,
he just got injured. Warp, as I said earlier, Warpedoed out of control.
He hasn't just missed a beat. He's lost his drums, Roy.
He's got no sticks.
Yeah, play on.
Wow. Okay. Wagner. Good low price pick at D5, D6. If you went back there, he could be. He's rookie priced.
He's 285.
We just need to see what he does and if he's in the team, obviously. If he is, then anyone under 300K that's playing round one is definitely an option. And he would be, being a mature age sort of player.
Yeah.
Finn Callaghan.
Can I just flag? I think he's got a minor injury.
Yeah, I think he was.
Like it might have been a hammy niggle or something. Yeah, there's a niggle there. Watch that. Because otherwise, yes, I am thinking...
Yeah, he can be there.
100%.
For Brody here, Finn Callaghan, is any chance of a secondary year breakout with the Giants mids exodus?
So he's 406.
These are sort of guys that could really be the winners in the end if he ends up being in that mix.
This is what we were just talking about. You can grab a guy like this, you look at him and go, wow, he's gone 90, 100, he's flying here, he's got the high CBAs. It's obvious. He's replaced the spots. So you can get him then.
Yeah.
You can get him at 460K and it's still very cheap. But I think starting with a guy like that...
And then he gets a vest.
And then he's got 40s next to his name.
I know. I love it. If you are convinced that it's all systems go, by all means back in a unique like that. But...
And the pracky games
I'm way too scared to do that.
At this time of the year, you can't do it. No. But after a pracky game where he's had 60% CBAs, then maybe.
Have a little look.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. We are going to have to do a Q&A.
We are.
Special podcast in this preseason, I reckon. In AFL Draft, who are the top 5 midfielders and what order were you going? Let's do a draft. Midfielder only. Pick one, Cow. Who you got?
Laird.
Roy?
Steele.
Didn't think you were going to go there. All right, I'll go Clayton Oliver, safety.
Brayshaw.
I will go Macrae.
Macrae, yep.
Took for me. There's 6.
Okay. I like it.
We'll have our draft kit coming out soon too. We've been working hard on that. A few edits on the way through.
Oh, yeah.
As we go, like everything. And the AFL record will be out 16th of February.
I'm just flagging something.
No edits.
If you look at the footy record that comes out in all good bookstores near you, right? If you have a look at it and you're like, oh, why have they talked about this bloke who's just injured? Understand, we didn't know that at the time.
Right? It goes to print.
Yeah.
Hard copy things go to print. Anyway.
You don't just click save and publish.
No. It's a bit trickier.
All right, to finish off our midfield pod, we are looking at one of our favourite midfielders and a guy that Roy has nice and high in the rolling 22. Tommy Mitchell, welcome to the show, mate.
Good to be back again, boys. Looking forward to a chat.
Well, it's not long to go. And how has the pre-season been treating you since we last spoke? So 6 or 7 weeks since then, everything ticking along? Because I've seen a couple of shots of you with your shirt off. You're trying to get a little bit of a Took Miller going on with how good he's looking with his shirt off. You're doing the same.
Yeah, it probably goes Baslink out Took than me. So that's probably the best metrics to play.
We have shortlisted you. We have shortlisted you for men for all seasons.
Nowhere near that level, but the boys are all pretty fit. We have a pretty healthy list at the moment, so everyone's just ready to play. We've been training for a fair while, and everyone's looking forward to, match sim, but also intra-club games and then playing a few pracky games.
Beautiful. They're not too far away, so you guys will be looking pretty good because we are pumped about you coming down to Peak Park. Is York Park down here at UTAS Stadium, is that one of your very happy hunting grounds? What do you like about playing here?
Yeah, it's been a good paddock to me over the years, so I do like getting down to Big Park. Looking forward to getting down there again. I didn't think I'd be playing footy again at Launceston and coming to Collingwood, but it's funny how things work out and getting down there to play my old teammates, which will be good fun. So looking forward to getting down to Tassie again.
I reckon you've got something special for the Hawks when you come down here, mate. I reckon a nice little piggish 150 in the pre-season would put them back in their box, I reckon.
So now the key things that we want to know, this midfield time is going to be pretty good for you. You play the straight bat and all that sort of stuff in some of these calls, but you're going to be plenty of midfield time, and we've got no worries picking you this season, do we?
Well, I don't want to give you any more straight bat answers, but I would think midfield would be my main position. That's for sure. But we've got a pretty deep midfield, which is a good thing for our team. So we've got we can go through the names if you like, but Pendles and side bottom, the Daicos boys, Chris, Taylor Adams. So there's plenty of guys that will be going through there. yeah, we'll figure out what that mix looks like over the next few weeks for sure.
Now, I heard there was a bit of an injury scare went through the camp. Your, obviously, teammates' camp, our ruck department camp in Fantasyland. Darcy Cameron's obviously a big buzz name at the moment and in the mix for our ruck or even our forward line. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, he just had a little hamstring injury, but it's not going to hamper him too much at all. So he's going to be back. He's already running. He's going to be back playing when we start. So that's good for him. And he was already really fit and had done all the work up until then. So, yeah, expecting a big year from the big fella.
Yeah, I thought we could back him in. Is he looking likely to spend that time, a similar mix to what he did with Cox last year, do you reckon?
Yeah, I didn't watch too many Collingwood games last year, but from what I can gather, those two work quite well together, and they both are pretty good at, playing ruck and then both finishing up forward and can both take a big mark. So I think it'll be a balance of both.
Yeah.
All right, Cal, who have you got your eyes on? You've got Nick Daicos in your team. What are we seeing from Daicos then, do you think? Is it much of the same, or is he going to jump in there and have a few centre bounces with you, as we like to see?
I hope so. I hope he gets in there a little bit. He's a freakish talent and he's got the work ethic to match it. So, I think last year, you guys would know better than me, but last year he pretty much played purely half back, and hopefully this year can have a bit more midfield exposure. And I think by the end of his career he'll be fully played as a mid. But I reckon he should hopefully get a few runs and bounces this year as well.
I think we better make the most of our time where we can pick him as a defender, because those days will probably dry up pretty quick.
I think you're right. I'm looking at the most selected pies here, mate, and you're coming in here at number 2 on the list behind Nick. Jack Macrae, is he a chance to get games early?
Finn's had a bit of a back issue, so he's been out of the program for a little while. But obviously we've seen over the last few years that he's going to be a really promising player into the future, and he's a really good runner, really good endurance athlete midfielder. So he's not in full training at the moment, but hopefully he's not too far away, and as you mentioned, can be ready for selection early in the year.
He might be nice and cheap. What about Joe Richards? We've had a bit of a look at him. His story's great. How's he fitted in so far at the club?
Yeah, he's been really good, Joe. He's from Wangaratta. He loves getting back home, and he's got a statue of himself back there. So he goes back to polish it every weekend. And he's very, very skilled player, very lively. I can definitely see him playing senior footy for sure. He's got the skill level and high work rate and can run, so he's got a lot of attributes.
Now, how are the ball magnets going at the moment? You're well into pre-season mode. The running stuff's very important. How are the other lads going there in Lock and Paddy?
Yeah, from all reports, all going very well. So, we obviously have our group text, which there's always some good banter flying through there. And, from what they tell me, they're both moving pretty well, and they're running well as well. We're about to release our ball magnets running programs as well the next few weeks. So we've put our brains together and sort of combined all our pre-season programs to put an 8-week running program as well as a 4-week running program out for everyone who's trying to get fit before their season. Yeah,
well, there's been a bit of talk in our studio that Warnie's going to partake in the 8-week program and do a little bit of a before and after video for you.
Wow, what do we have to pay him for that?
Oh, well, mate, I need to do a fair bit of work, but this Utah Stadium at the back of us is a perfect deck to do it on.
It is.
That's how we might start our days.
Tell you what.
Yeah. Morning job.
There's a bit in that.
Yeah, I'll jump in for a session, even post-game maybe. Down in Tassie, we'll do a running session.
Oh, yes, lock it in. Lock it in.
You beauty. Now, before we let you go, mate, thanks very much for your time. Draft will be opening up in a week or so. Thinking of your ball magnets, who will you be taking at pick 1 in your draft out of yourself, Lachie and Paddy?
Oh, it's tough. I'm going to take myself third. I'll put those two ahead of me, and I'm going to go with... Oh, it's tough.
It's a tough question.
It is tough.
I'll go with... Creepers had plenty of limelight after winning the Brownlow, so I'll go with Lachie. I'll go Lachie pick 1.
Very exciting. Well, to be honest, we'll be taking you with our first pick out of the trio because we're excited about what you can do this season, and we wish you all the best there at the Pies. Looking forward to seeing you down here in Pig Park in a few weeks' time.
Thanks, boys. I'll see you then.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Always great to have the Pig on the line, and he's up and about. I think He's got his confidence,
You know
I
what?
think,
He's
as a
trying to-
fantasy
Yes.
dude.
Yeah.
He's trying to keep a lid on it.
He is.
He knows what's going on out there.
It's like a dog. When his tail's wagging,
Yeah.
you can't hide it. And I could just sense that little piggy tail.
We will be seeing that firsthand down here for the
It's going to be big.
Pracky game. It's the first one. It's a 5:10 start on a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
I reckon we might have to do something special for that. So
think we have
stay
to.
tuned, and we'll have our eyes here at the ground, and we'll be making sure that you know exactly how Tommy Mitchell's looking and probably Warps as well.
Well, there's a
Sliding
few of
into our
the
team.
younger
Tell you
Hawks
now.
guys there.
Yeah, no, we need to have eyes across the Hawks. for
Hawks and Pies, quite a relevant game.
It is.
Fantasy to
It
kick
is.
it off, so it's very exciting. Thanks very much for tuning in for this midfielder episode. Don't forget you can go and catch the back catalogue of all of our podcasts this pre-season. There's been plenty there, especially all the club previews. We talked about defenders last week, and we also have our Coach's Corner special. Last week's episode was a cracker where we had a chat to the runners-up from the last few years, so plenty of great insight from some highly ranked coaches, unlike us. We've got some more fun coming this week as well, something a little bit different. That'll be out on the Thursday. So thanks very much for tuning in, and have a good week.
Have a great week.
Get into it.
Let's go.